Thank you for coming. There are extremely interesting talks in other rooms, so if you are here, I hope you know what you are doing. And because there are not so many people here, this is good because we have a friendly atmosphere, and I actually just want to tell you a story. Sorry. I'm not going to teach you anything. I'm just going to tell you a story about how I developed a RT plugin for fun and profit, but actually mostly for profit because I was paid for it. And another part of this story is that some people, like a couple of years ago in Granada, told how they release a spawn module every day and have like dozens of spawn models on their account. And this model I will be talking to you about is the only my spawn model that I released in 10 years of Perl development. So possibly you don't want to do that, but still. So imagine a situation when you are at ISP provider's call center, and there are people in it, so beautiful ladies and gentlemen who accept calls, and I'll better stay here. And essentially, customers call them, they have a problem, and they tell, oh, like, I have a problem. The first question this call center specialist normally asks is, what's your contract number? And having a contract number, they need to ask their name, surname, and address, and lots of other stuff, like maybe because they need to find out what's their switch port number, VLAN port, and so on. Many things about that. All of these things exist in other databases, so normally not the same database where the support ticket is created. But still, specialist needs to fill that ticket, and they need to like finish the conversation and look at the other databases and transform and move all of that information to a ticket. And the end of the day becomes really hard for them because it's a lot of data to move. Actually, devs are here, and developers can help in this situation. First of all, we need to check what is the ticket they are creating after all. This is RT ticket. So what I'm talking about is a real situation. And the specialists use RT or request tracker, which is an open source request tracking software, to handle support tickets. You can read about it at the Best Practical website. Best Practical is also a company which developed and supports it. RT is free for any use. It's written in Perl, and many organizations use it. What is the most important for us organization that uses it? Possibly this one, right? It's Span ecosystem. Okay, and main concepts of RT are tickets, queues, custom fields. So we can create a ticket in some queue, and we can have custom fields that are assigned to each queue. So this is the process of ticket creation, essentially. And there are custom fields that can be added to every ticket. So custom fields can contain different types of data, like simple text, list of values, or anything. And it would be nice if we'd have a button which is called get data. So when we enter contact number, the button asks some other databases for the remaining data and fills it. So how to add such a button? We need to look at RT internals. It's built with Mason, and the key concept of Mason is component. If we look at RT's code, we see a lot of files. Each of these files is essentially a component. It contains a mix of HTML and Perl code. And if we are if we don't care about anything, we can essentially edit such file and add the button there. But of course, we don't want to do that, right? Because we can, but we will have problems with shipping. We cannot ship such software to anywhere to our clients and actually to other people who can use it. But what can we do with it? There is such thing in RT as callbacks. It has callbacks after, in every component, it has a callback after generation of every field, like custom field value, before group of custom fields, after group of custom fields, and so on. We can just put a file with callback to such directory, where local HTML callbacks is like necessary. Anything can be just any name. Path to component is a relative to RT root path to component, and callback name is callback name that we want to use. So essentially, the code for this looks like shown on the screen. So we just read configuration and check if the field that was rendered right now is a key field. Then we display get data button. So what is key field? Key field is a field with contract ID or some other key value, which we know and which we can use to get other data. Okay, we can ship it by creating a plugin, because it's like the most natural way. And plugins in RT are normally named RT extension something, or sometimes RTX something. I tried to name it RT extension, but typing it every time was so annoying, so I just stick with RTX field ticket data. It's pretty long name too, I know. And so to use to put callback to plugin, we need to use slightly different way. So essentially, plugins and plugin name is added to the previous one. Okay, so we have a button, and what we need to do next? We possibly need to bind some JavaScript code to it. And what it does. So JavaScript code can essentially look for every custom field on the page and send these values. Because when you are on the client side, it's not so easy to distinguish between key fields and non-key fields. So I essentially send values of all fields, and they can be found by their name using the appropriate CSS selector. And we send them to an API endpoint. But first of all, we need to understand what to do to load the JavaScript code on the page. So surely we cannot edit the file, component file, like we discussed it previously, and we possibly don't want to put it in the callback code too, because, well, that's possible, but that's not the most natural way. Fortunately, RT has a way to do it. So you can just, in your plugin code, call RT add JavaScript, or for CSS add style sheets, and they will be loaded with your page. So, okay, we have a button and JavaScript code. So what we need to add is an API endpoint, which will provide values of custom fields, find the key one, and get the data from the sources. Essentially, there are some places in RT where you could put such thing, but they normally end up with HTML helpers and the name of your like handler. And there is some Mason code in it. Which just calls the plugin and provides all the arguments it's received to it. So when we have this code, we need to complete only one thing. We need to get the actual data. So to do that, we need to provide some configuration. And I decided that such configuration will be in JSON format. And we essentially configure key fields. This one at the beginning is actually ID of the custom field. And this contract ID is our own reserved word that will be used in other configuration to replace this. It's like a template to replace. It will be replaced with the actual value of ID field. So here's a screenshot. You can easily find IDs of custom fields, and their names. So we can configure, add them to configuration. So in the similar way, we store database data in JSON. So for example, for users database, we specify all of the parameters suitable to pass to DBI. And the actual SQL query. And this is actually a specification for data that we will put into a custom field with ID 2. So when we have custom field with ID 2 on the page, we will fill it with the results of this query, where contract ID will be replaced with the actual value of contract ID. So the same thing with other types of data sources like command output or compound one. So here, instead of field ID, we use body or subject to fill body or subject of the ticket appropriately. And also we can see here that both command and text can be used to fill the same field, or actually any number of any kinds of data sources. Okay, so we have JSON configuration somewhere. We don't know where it is located. So I think the most straightforward way for that would be to specify it. Sorry, just checking my time. So would be to specify it in RT configuration. So we don't hard code it, but instead we use RT site config file and specify full path to the JSON file in our custom option. And here in our plugins code, we use RT model and get this configuration using its internal functions for that. So, what we have currently? So we have added get data button as a callback. We added JavaScript that it invokes. And we added API endpoint component and configuration file, and let the plugin know where to find it actually. So we can actually proceed to packaging it somewhere to a distribution. And RT plugins are normal span models or normal distributions that can be shipped as span models. So we need to write makefile scale, for example. So I used it because it's the most convenient way, because I used model install and there is a module installed RTX, which helps to make file for RT plugins. You can simply say all from your plugin and which version of RT is required, and it will make everything you need automatically. Installation is quite simple. So you just have to specify RT home variable because it doesn't know where your RT installation is located. If you don't specify it, it will ask it during configuration phase. And after plugin is installed, we can load it. We should load it in RT site config file by using plugin keyword. So, what we achieved? I think oh, sorry, I forgot to ask, because I was trying to be faster because we have just a little bit of time, but are you people normally, are you just aware of RT and are you familiar with it? Okay. So we just looked at the very simple concepts and we built a simple plugin, and I think we made call center specialists happier. If you want to get more information about RT and writing plugins to it, there is a resources page on the website of this practical with a lot of different links. RT source code itself, you will have to know HTML Mason to read it because it uses it very extensively, and it's located on GitHub. You can search for plugins and look at the examples there. And this particular plugin. So that's it. Any questions?
In your configuration, aren't you worried about the SQL injections and comment injections, like putting the customer?
Yeah, this is a good question. This is intended to be an internal thing, so it's unlikely that some malicious person will use SQL. But actually, in the plugin itself, okay, you're right. So I thought that they are escaping, but most possibly they are not. So yeah, this thing is actually intended for internal use only, and of course, there is a lot of space, a lot of stuff to improve. One of the other wrong things about this plugin and the load of configuration is that configuration is loaded on every request. It's a read, and if any configuration change is detected, new database connections are created and so on. So this was mostly for one customer's use. So yeah, it has drawbacks. Sorry about that. If you will have a look at it and find any bugs, please raise an issue, no problem, and I'll try to fix it.
Yeah, you remember the custom fields from 1 till 99. Why? The custom fields have their own name, and if you put the result of any command into field number 2, and the admin would rearrange the custom fields or not even create the custom fields in proper order, then the information will be put in different kind of fields which don't have any connection at all.
Sorry.
And in your configuration, you said this command will put in field number 2.
Okay.
That field number 2 can be anything.
I thought that was a customer ID.
Done in RT.
Field number 2. So let me check again. Which one?
In the config, yeah.
Here?
This one, yeah.
So
use the name of the custom field.
The name of the custom field is just text string. It can be anything, and I can't even guarantee that different custom fields cannot have different are not required to have different names. So it's potentially they can have identical names, I think. So ID looks like the most reliable way. What do you mean that they can enter something and it will be replaced? That's the problem.
You rely on the administrator of RT that they fill in the custom fields in the proper order.
Yes.
According to your config, which you define in your module and send to the customer. So if the admin thinks the order would be different, more logical for him, then all information would be put in your wrong fields.
So here we say that field number two gets result from the database, and
Field is field number 2. That's
I think it's like ID, so it's not like the second field.
yes, it's
yeah,
filled with ID too. No, it's not. Yeah. So
but you could use the name of the custom field.
You could have named it IP. On the previous page, you said that 2
oh,
was
2 is contract number.
oh.
So why not use contract number?
Sorry,
Number
yes, this is my fault.
No,
Yeah.
but
I actually mean 3.
nobody made
Actually, that's a bit of my point. Why not use contract number instead of IP addresses instead of number 2 or 3?
You just can name
This
the
is-
field.
This is just me being unattentive. Sorry. So I think we are out of time now. Thank you for attention.